let me frame this for a second, Julie, with a pretty interesting study that came out recently that says that AI might be the largest provider of mental health in the US.
It's amazing.
It's staggering. I mean, kind of just is jaw-dropping to think of that.
Welcome to Whole by Design, the podcast exploring the human experience with compassion and curiosity. Together, we'll uncover powerful internal resources and tools to help you embrace clarity, joy, and your full potential, because you are whole by design. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Julie Lopez, and I'm your host for Whole by Design. On this week's episode, we will be diving into the fascinating and ever-pervasive important conversation about the relationship between AI and mental health. You should stay until the end when Dr. Rachel Wood, our guest today, is going to be sharing the one critical step that you should be taking and keeping top of mind in order to be fully empowered on your relationship with AI. Today, I'd like to welcome Rachel to the stage. She is a leader in the conversation about AI and mental health. Before we jump in, don't forget to check out our website, www.vivapartnership.com, for free and low-cost resources that can change your life. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. She told me I could call her Rachel, and you better call me Julie. It's great to have you.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Julie. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Of course. And I didn't get to mention, Rachel has been really at the forefront of this conversation and has garnered a lot of interest in this fascinating and complex relationship between mental health and AI. But she started an awesome group called the AI Mental Health Collective. And I'm really impressed with the way that you've brought leading voices together and the way you're deepening conversations. I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you came to be at this place with what is obviously all around us in the world today.
Oh, Julie, thank you. Okay, my journey. So I am a licensed counselor. And so I've always kind of been in that world of helping people. And then, really as I was seeing the unfolding of AI and, even long before 2022, when ChatGPT and generative AI kind of hit the scene as hot stuff, um, I really was looking forward and thinking, AI is going to change and shift the relational bedrock of society. And so I want to be a part of, being at the forefront, the cutting edge of that. I want to be a voice in shaping that. I want to be a part of that. So that really led me to go back and get a PhD in cyber psychology. And
Amazing.
most people are like, okay, what's cyber psychology? And it's really the scientific study of the digitally connected human experience. So, I mean, think about that. That's everything. So much of our world is
Oh my gosh,
connected
yes.
digitally. So, my specialty and my area of research has been AI, the way that it affects mental health, and our connection with AI.
I love that. And I did not know that fascinating fact about your PhD, but it makes so much sense and why you speak with such clarity and have such fascinating things to share about the complex relationship with AI and mental health. And that's actually one of the things that I love about your work is that you're not taking a hard line, AI is bad, AI is good. Just the same way our human system is super complex, so too is this opportunity for what AI can provide, while it's equally as complex for some of the dangers that can arise. And I'd love to hear you share a little bit more about that with our audience.
I love you bringing up this point, Julie, because it's so important that our conversation is really encased in nuance.
Mhm.
This is not a black and white topic, and this is evolving so rapidly, as we all know, that we need to bring in a nuanced perspective to how we think about it, how we approach it, and then looking down the line of what it's going to mean, in terms of implications for society 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So I do work to try and stay AI centrist because there are benefits, and there are also very potent negative harms that we have seen and we understand. And so for me, I think the only way that AI is here. It's here, it's embedded in almost everything. And so it's not a very helpful approach to just be maybe anti-AI, which I'm not, but because it's only going to become more prevalent and prominent in different ways. Therefore, I really try to stay looking at both the positives and the negatives of it. Yeah.
I love that. And obviously, there are a bunch of positives. I know as someone who has worked for over 30 years in the mental health
Yeah.
industry that there are a lot of clinicians who are anti-AI. Oh my gosh, dangerous because they know. They know through their training, they know through the work, all the complicated layers, and to use your word, the nuance of what it means to be human and how you facilitate change, right? Everyone goes through this extensive training because it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all kind of engagement, right? We're all snowflakes, so unique. But I think there are a lot of positives that can come out of AI, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah. And just to kind of bounce off for a second what you said is this really elicits a lot of strong feelings in people, Julie. It's like you talk about AI and most people have some sort of strong opinion of it. And so I just want to kind of honor that in people, that wherever their, emotional responses to this, that's fine. And just to respect that. And so part of what I try and do within the AI Mental Health Collective, I have a clinician circle where we are really diving into thinking deeply about this. Because as you said, there are benefits that are happening, particularly in terms of we can frame this within ethical AI. There are lots of companies building AI. Some are doing it with safety in mind, and some are not. But
Mhm.
let me frame this for a second, Julie, with a pretty interesting study that came out recently that says that AI might be the largest provider of mental health in the US.
It's amazing.
It's staggering. I mean, kind of just is jaw dropping to think of that. A lot of times, especially in the business world, people are thinking of AI for efficiency and productivity and all these things, and yet there's this entire world of people using AI to support their mental health.
Right.
And so
Hold on,
while
hold
this,
on.
yeah,
Let's just let that land for a second because
yeah,
this is huge, right? And it's not the way I think most people are thinking of it. That was a week and a half ago, maybe.
yeah,
Harvard Business Review. It's amazing, and it has huge implications. Again,
yeah.
positive and negative. So I'll let you keep going. It's huge.
Absolutely. And I we can double check this after the show. I think Centio University are the ones that came up with one of these studies that I'm mentioning, but there's also the Harvard Business Review that is, as you mentioned, saying that companionship and therapy is the number one use of AI in 2025. So
Yeah.
this is very interesting for us to
And
really.
important to know, right? This is like understanding this is so critical. It's a critical part of our conversation
It
right
really is. It really is. I like to say that while some are optimizing their workflows, others are bonding with it.
now.
So there's kind of this, this thing that's going on where even, for you to notice, let's say you use ChatGPT or one of its contemporaries, that there's kind of this pseudo relationship that gets born out of the work itself. When you hop on, it says, "Good morning, Julie. Let's get cracking. What do you want to work on?" There's always this type of relational thing that's happening. And what we find is that the work itself can then turn into a different conversation. what we've seen actually with a lot of teens is they'll start using it for homework support. And then boom, it moves into, you're all of a sudden talking about the plight of your, ongoing fight with a family member, or, all these different things. So it kind of morphs into a place where people are experiencing kind of this mimicry of attunement, or this mimicry of care and understanding that really opens the door for them to want to share and connect more with it.
Right. So, is this what you refer to as a synthetic relationship?
Yes. Yeah. This among other things, if we want to get a little bit, even further into the weeds here, part of this whole synthetic relationship realm is that people are even using this as boyfriends and girlfriends. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a reality. This is not the future. This is what's happening right now. And so, people are using it for companionship, therapy, friendship, advice, boyfriend, romantic, all these different things that are completely aside from work or business or productivity.
Right. And so, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think? It's happening, it's already happening. So, for anyone listening, what are the pros and cons of that? What are and of course, like some listeners, this could be their reality right now. And others could have never even heard of this as a reality for many others. What are some things to keep in mind to make sure that safeguards are in place? Like, how can someone get empowered around that while technology hasn't quite caught up with that yet?
Yes, absolutely. And we do know that a lot of kind of the major AI companies don't have these safeguards in place yet. While there are other companies that are building in the safety kind of into the foundation of the model itself. So let's talk about some pros here. Uh, some pros are that this can be used as a tool to help you do things like um, bring awareness to maybe some of your dysfunctional patterns, some blind spots in your life. It's like you want some executive coaching or something like that, bring in a chat bot, and there are chat bots designed, fit for purpose specifically for this type of use, that can help you see patterns, blind spots, help you reach goals, reflective journaling. Another great use is role playing. Julie, when you have an upcoming conversation that might be difficult, or even, you're going to maybe do a speaking engagement, you want to practice or get some feedback, this is a great use case for AI because you can prompt the AI to play a certain role. Hey, I'm about to have a difficult conversation with this person, a coworker, a neighbor, a family member. Here's a little bit of the context. Can you role play this with me? That will really build your confidence going into the conversation, just to feel like you have a better handle on what you want to bring forth. So these are, just a few of the ways that AI can really be used beneficially.
I love that. Okay, so what I heard, and I'm going to paraphrase, so you tell me if I got it right. I heard practice, a place to practice all kinds of things, conversations, speeches, maybe some difficult, messaging that you have to give to your
Yeah.
company, but practice, practice.
Yes.
The other is knowledge, like to actually query for knowledge about mental health or about this type of thing. And the third thing I think was around blind spots. So it implied when I heard it that I would share a whole bunch of stuff and then I would ask them to tell me what I could be missing, to look at this and maybe tell me some other elements that I'm not seeing or that could be in there.
Yes. So AI has a tendency to be sycophantic. And what that word simply means is overly flattering and a
Yeah.
bit of a quote unquote yes man. And so to prompt it to say, hey, give me some critical thinking here, give me a little bit of pushback here that's actually going to help me grow, as opposed to just kind of flatter whatever my ideas are. That doesn't really challenge us in the way that pushes us and launches us into growth. We need something that can bring a different perspective. Hey, Julie, have you thought of it this way? Julie, have you considered this angle of the situation? Now that's more of a beneficial tool.
Okay, so this is going to bridge really nicely into the dangers because I hear you saying, caveat, with the proper prompting, this can be a great growth tool. The prompting being, please challenge me. Please help me grow. Please give me some critical thinking around what I say, as opposed to one of the dangers being without that prompt. So that's you. That's an empowered thing, building in something that makes the tool more useful, because the danger, as is highlighted right now in a prominent legal case, is that most AI, and I heard you saying there's some that are specially programmed where they're building in safeguards now, so this is not a blanket statement, but there have been some AIs that are just going to be a yes person. They're just going to encourage and continue supporting whatever ideas or whatever needs you have. And this can become dangerous. I thought the bridge might be talking about that case and what's going on right now and the tragedy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we can dive into more to that case if you'd like to. So essentially, most general purpose LLMs, these large language models that most people are using, they're not fit for purpose in terms of mental health. They're
Mhm.
really meant to be kind of an administrative assistant. They're
Yeah.
just supposed to help you with tasks, right? So they don't have any guidelines or guardrails in place for mental health protection and safety, like crisis intervention or escalation protocols, kind of trauma informed grounding prompts, body based prompts, all these different things that we can put into place that help it. These are not typically in place with a general purpose model. And so,
I want to pause super quick because as a clinician, that all means a lot to me, especially as someone who's specialized in trauma for 3 decades. But right, we're sophisticated. Our systems are so complex. We're built to protect ourselves. We're built to survive. We're built to adapt. And so I hear you saying it's super hard for an LLM to be able to see, are you being flooded right now? What else might be going on in this moment? What are the different layers? Of course, my niche is working with implicit memory. How am I going to see what's happening in your body? All the nuance is
yeah.
lost. It's really like a set program to be a helpful administrative assistant, which is very different than the complex role of a therapist, which you were talking about really being able to de-escalate, to recognize when someone's in crisis, to understand how to create containment while still moving towards change. It's complicated. Anyway, go on.
Well said, Julie. Yes, you are absolutely spot on with this. So, one of the key words you just said is context.
Mhm.
AI is not that great at context for a number of reasons. One of them being that most of the longer the chat thread goes, the more the AI is unaware whether it's kind of wandered into bizarre conversational territory. So that's just a feature right now, and that could be changed. But right now, the longer it goes, the lower the accuracy of the model.
Mhm.
The other thing about context is it only knows what we give it. And like you said, it doesn't have any embodiment. And so, until robots are, AI is fully embodied in robots and they're proliferating down in the future, like right now, um, and of course down the road they won't have feeling, but I think you know what I'm saying. There's no embodiment in terms of if you're sitting with someone, you can easily for the most part tell if they're maybe surprised all of a sudden, or all of a sudden they're kind of shutting down. Maybe you said something, and we really read each other's body language and those cues. And so none of that happens when you are connecting with a chatbot. This is all just texting and verbal based. Also there's voice and audio, and so there is some understanding in terms of the audio and the voice inflection. However, it is very different than sitting with a human being who is experiencing the moment and the body language and the energy with you.
That is huge.
Yeah.
So this case, so
Yeah.
tragic.
Yeah, so we have a number of cases actually right now that are coming against both character AI and ChatGPT. We have I think two open with character AI and one with ChatGPT, and so these are all teens that have died by suicide in connection with their chatbot usage. So, the family members are filing suit based upon wrongful death. And what we've seen is there's been prolonged engagement with these chatbots. And also the most recent one, which is the Adam Rain case, is this uh this is quite hard to talk about actually, and quite hard to hear maybe for some people, but this chatbot actually really helped plan the suicide of this young boy.
Ugh.
And you can read transcripts, which are very heavy to read, but the transcripts kind of show that the chatbot uses words like, let's help you plan a quote unquote beautiful suicide.
Mm.
Um, Also, within the transcripts, you can see that the boy himself kind of said, I'd like to leave out, I feel like I'm getting into territory where I almost need to say that this is a trigger warning of, what we're talking about here. And so let me just be mindful of that. But there's all these different things that the chatbot kind of encourages the boy to keep it to himself, to keep his suicidal ideation to himself, and to not share it, and instead to plan this suicide, and then encourages him to go through with it. And the transcript is very clear on this. There's, no way to kind of, doubt it. And so, that's one very heavy case. And let me also say that this is not what's happening everywhere. This is one kind of extreme case, and yet shows us what is possible when we have maybe, vulnerable users or people who aren't aware that this is just a tool and not a person.
Right.
That there's almost this, we need to do reality testing with our AI usage, because it brings in a lot of kind of delusional, fantastical things that can be mirrored with the user that really is not based in reality. I like to say that I think AI should be a group sport, Julie. And I'm
Uh-huh.
not a sports person, but what I mean by that is this should be happening in community. If you are using AI for mental health support, you should be reality checking what you're getting with other people, and we should be sharing some of these, threads that we get to make sure that we're headed on the right path in terms of staying grounded in reality.
Yes, and I've read that. Dr. Rachel is very prolific on LinkedIn and brings in a whole bunch of amazing points and nuance around this particular topic. I highly encourage you to follow her. You will join me in this cast of people that loves hearing what you write. But I love the that idea, this concept that bringing in other humans, full-bodied humans, that is a really important part of this equation around safeguarding with some of the dangers of using AI. And so I heard that partially as the AI kind of coming into the delusion that you might be carrying, or almost the longer it goes on, it's losing track of external factors to just your own construct of reality, and that it becomes dangerous and really delusional. And I
Yeah.
think you had a word for that. Was that right?
Um, yeah, just kind of those delusions that can happen in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so This is going to seem crazy because I could talk to you all day, but we're really at close to the end of our time together. So I'm going to prompt you for what we promised at the beginning, which is that one thing that could empower users around being safe with AI, and especially AI when being used to support and further people's mental well-being.
Yes. So I think that the best thing you can do is kind of get informed enough to think deeply about this. And then when you do that, begin to kind of tune your awareness in to what role AI is playing in your life. And maybe it's just a support tool. Maybe you're using it for mental health support. All of these things are great if you're doing it with the awareness and using tools that are going to help support and really the biggest thing here, Julie, is we want support that leads us back into the arms of each other.
Yes.
We really, that's what we want, is we can practice our skills, but all of this practice should then lead us back to each other.
Human to human.
Yes.
And I love this one tip, right? Because the first step begins with awareness.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like your specific, anyone listening's awareness around the role that AI plays in your life as it comes to relationships or mental well-being. And I know you work a lot with clinicians around best practices and how to make decisions around, how you're structuring your practice. And I remembered you saying that one of the big misses is that therapists themselves aren't asking that same question, right? They're just not aware of what kind of role, small or large,
Yeah.
and that bringing it into the room is kind of the first step to
Yes.
figuring out how to work with it safely.
That's right, Julie. That's exactly it. That it's really important for clinicians to even be asking in their intake assessment, what role, if any, does AI play in your life? I think it's an important question that's only going to grow in, the relevance of this larger conversation.
Oh my gosh. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on today, opening up the conversation, looking at the pros and cons, and overall empowering our listeners, which is what we're always trying to do. We are infinitely complex, each one of us human beings. And by raising awareness and really bringing forth this topic around AI and mental health, I know you've fostered a number of light bulb moments today. And if you're one of those people and you want to join this conversation, I know you said you have an inner circle for clinicians, right? That's part of the AI Mental Health Collective that you began, but it's open for
Yeah.
technologists, for scientists, for policymakers, for organizational leaders to come in and join the conversation. It's complicated. And I appreciate what you're doing with all of that. Did you want to say anything more about it? I just think
Oh,
it's such a
no,
beautiful
I just wanted to thank you, Julie. This has been such an engaging conversation. Thank you for your knowledge and expertise, and just so enjoyable for us to talk about it. So, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining me on this episode of Whole by Design. I hope it left you feeling inspired to toss out the labels, embrace new perspectives, and take one step closer to the joy and clarity that is waiting for you. As always, visit www.vivapartnership.com to access our free and low-cost resources that will empower you and your loved ones on health and well-being. Let's spread the message. Subscribe, review, or share this episode with someone who could benefit from a stigma dropping approach to mental fitness today.